Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we have entered day 175 of the ongoing war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. It would appear that any idea of a Ukrainian counteroffensive in the direction towards Kherson and seizing control of the areas along the western footprint of the Dnieper River that the Russian forces continue to hold is simply not going to come to fruition at this point. It would appear that the Ukrainians did attempt a limited or maybe a bit bigger than a limited counterattack, but that does not seem to have worked out well for Ukrainian forces. Again, we had seen operations both in the northeast of the western footprint and the south as well in the direction of Kherson. But what has happened right now, it seems that the Ukrainians have decided to, at least temporarily, abandon those ongoing offensive operations in the direction of Kherson and start to rely on precision strikes against Russian forces inside of the Crimea. So how are the Ukrainians doing this? Is it an indigenous system that the Ukrainians are using? Is it possible that the Ukrainians are using ATACMS that have been provided, maybe not by the United States, but by a third party, in which those items were then handed over to Ukraine? Or we could see a contract group of former either UK soldiers, US soldiers operating in a contract capacity, could also be operating. Well, we do know they are operating in Ukraine. Now the question is do they have an ex-HIMARS unit operating in a clandestine fashion with CIA, and again, it's difficult to say. This is how this sort of thing usually is done. If there is a need for a certain skill set, and especially if you're looking at more or less of some sort of kinetic activity in a locale, they can hire individuals on a contract basis. They are actually not directly employed by the CIA. They would probably be employed by the Ukrainian government, and that gives all parties plausible deniability. The ATACMS could have come via the United Kingdom or some other source. The ATACMS doesn't necessarily have to come from the United States, but it's looking more and more probable like they may have gotten their hands on some ATACMS given what is happening down in the Crimea. Or again, it is possible that the Ukrainians have a more accurate indigenous system. We know they have the ability to both produce, manufacture, and deploy said systems. They were doing that in the early stages of the development of the Grom or the Thunder. Again, it's a more or less a system somewhat similar to the Russian Iskander system. So again, it's in all probability one of those systems or something that we're not aware of that is being actively used. And the only reason I say that is the lack of reported Russian response against whatever system is hitting targets in the Crimea. And now we understand more targets have been hit in the northern Crimea. Again, the Russians are claiming it's some sort of sabotage unit. But in either case, I don't know how the Russians would have this kind of concerted effort by Ukrainian Special Operations Forces operating in the rear, successfully attacking Russian supply depots the way they are. And then at the same time, the explosions that we're seeing are a little bit big, in terms of the use of some sort of a small drone operating in the area. So I'd like to rule that out as well. I think the most logical explanation at this point is some sort of a kinetic missile strike that is occurring in the Crimea in terms of what we are seeing. Going back up into the eastern area of conflict, we continue to see very heavy fighting in and around Bakhmut. This is the main area, both south and north of Bakhmut is where we're seeing some of the most heaviest fighting taking place, and obviously also towards Seversk as well. And we continue to see Russian forces battle their way in and around Soledar as well. Let's change over to the satellite image where we can kind of see things a little bit better. And again, we also have received reports that the Russians are trying to advance behind Bakhmut and end up surrounding Bakhmut. It appears to be this ongoing Russian strategy. This map has not been updated, but things are pretty fluid right now, and we don't have accurate information in terms of always who holds what, because forces can move into an area, counterattacks occur, and then they move back out, and that goes for both sides of the equation as this war continues. But heaviest fighting obviously taking place in the east, just to the north of Horlavika and south of Seversk, as this Russian pressure campaign continues. We continue to hear about Russian Iskander missile strikes taking place deep inside of Ukraine as well. That continues, and we anticipate will continue. There has been a reported lull in some of the cruise missile launched, the air cruise missile launched platforms by the Russians, and we have to wonder why that is. Are the Russians preparing for some sort of a larger and or sweeping campaign in terms of a greater amount of air-launched cruise missiles at a certain point? I guess we have to ask the question is, why aren't we seeing as many sorties with Russian heavy bombers launching said cruise missiles? At least from the side of the Ukrainians are reporting that the Russians are not launching those systems from aircraft. They're mainly seeing them from either seaborne ships firing Caliber cruise missiles, and then the Iskander as well has the ability to fire a version of a cruise missile. At the same time, they can also fire a semi-ballistic missile as well. Both of those systems are very, very accurate systems, on par with the U.S. ATACMS. But that is it for today. We'll continue to monitor, report. We're trying to ascertain what the West is using in the Crimea. We have seen multiple strikes on Russian targets inside of the Crimea, and we would like to really understand what is behind that. So again, thanks for joining us today. More to come very, very soon. Have a good day.